Hello, drafters. Welcome to Drafted Live. So, this is something that I've been thinking about doing for a little while, and where I can just chill out, talk to the camera for 20 to 30 minutes on a few various topics, engage with the audience, and see where it goes. So, I don't expect anyone to jump on live today, but if you do, come say hi. I'm still getting used to this, so it's a learning experience, and it's mostly so I don't have to sit there and edit, because editing videos for YouTube takes a lot of time, especially if you want to, make a good attempt at it. So at least with live, there's no room for errors. You just go with the flow and see what happens. So basically, I thought I'd cover a couple of topics today, and if I see anyone jump in the chat, I'll say hi. But let's just have a look here at my notes. So first off, like I was saying, what is Drafted Live? Well, it's just an opportunity for me to just talk to the camera for however long and get through some topics that are on my mind. I might do this on a weekly or fortnightly basis, see what happens. And then from there, we can just, build something from that. And I don't have to go out and edit it and all that kind of stuff. Now, hopefully my sound is actually working, because... Okay, I believe my sound is working. That's good. Let me just double check on that first. It's first time doing this, so bear with me a little bit. Yeah, I think it's working. Hopefully. So yeah, that's sort of the point of Drafted Live. Now, I thought I might also cover what my background is, because this is the first time potentially people are watching my channel and stumbling across this, and they might want to know who I am. So my name is Jesse. I'm the host of the channel Drafted. I've been doing this channel for, I think 2018 or 2019 was when I started, and it wasn't until the past couple of years where things started to pick up a little bit. So I'm just looking at messages on the screen and sort of seeing what's going on, because this is the first time I'm doing it. Anyway, so I built this channel when I started university because I read a book that was called Show Your Work, and it's all about when you're a creator or someone that's a bit artistic and loves to make things like we are in the 3D printing space. Instead of waiting for perfection to actually show something, to post it on Instagram or to make a video about it, it's much more worthwhile to simply post the work as you go. It kind of enables you to free yourself of that fear of being perfect in front of others, and gets that momentum going of just sort of like completing something and releasing it, and completing something and releasing it. And the other point of this book was that in today's age, like, there's so many high-level experts that everyone sort of looks up to, but there isn't enough people that are kind of up and coming. And in many cases, these people are often more interesting to see their journey. And a lot of time, people are really rooting for these people and engaged with whatever they're doing to reach their goals, and they feel like they're part of that journey with them. And so that was sort of what spurred me to create the Drafted channel. And it had a few names in the past, and it's been really tough to see what the direction is with the channel, what the purpose is, but it's kind of settled into something where I do a lot of 3D printing sort of stuff and some laser cutter stuff, which I'll talk about in a moment. And in the end, it turned into a bit of an educational channel, I suppose. So I really like sharing things that I'm learning about, or what I already know, or sharing sort of my experiences, and creating tutorials so people can learn from them. Because I always believe if I just help one person learn something or get through a problem they're having, it kind of makes it all worth it for me. So I might make a video that over a couple of years will end up getting 30,000 views or something. It might be really something simple, that most people say that wasn't worth the effort doing. But then one person comes along and says, thank you, I was stuck on this problem and I saw your video and it helped me fix it, and just I wanted to say thank you. And that's all it's worth a lot of the time, like just getting that one person. But even when you get one person, I often find you end up helping a lot more than that. So that was kind of what kept me going, just releasing these videos. And I think the one series of videos that really pushed the channel forward was when I did the videos series for Creality's 3D scanner, one of the first Kickstarter ones they released, which was the CR Scan Lizard. And at the time, the Kickstarter finished, we got this 3D scanner and it was good, but many people didn't know how to use it. It was kind of bad software, and it was kind of these little techniques you needed to learn just by using it to figure out how to actually make it scan things. And after a while, I was learning how to use it more and more, to the point where I'd see people asking questions all the time, like, hey, it's not scanning for me. How do I get this working for me? And so I thought, well, I might as well do some videos on it. And instead of just doing one video, why not make a series? Because as I was sort of scripting things, it sort of turned into this series, is kind of progression, almost like a mini course on how to use the CR Scan Lizard by Creality. And that really kind of got some momentum into the channel. Suddenly I had Creality reach out to me, and they were saying, like, thank you for doing this video series, it's been really helpful, we're going to share it on our main channels and stuff if you don't mind, and would you like another 3D scanner that we're releasing soon? Maybe you could play around with that and do some videos on it. And that kind of started, that was like my first sponsor, in the sense of not getting paid but getting something from a company to do a video on. Creality was, I think, the first one with whatever the next scanner was, the Otter, not the Otter, it would have been the Ferret, I think was the next one they sent me. And I've got a bunch here now, like I've got like 5 or 6 3D scanners. I've kind of moved away a bit from that that sort of those videos. I do have some here and I want to do that, and I'll touch on what I want to do with the channel more in a moment as well. And so that was kind of how the channel started. Now it is something that I do just on the side. I do work full-time as well. I'm an industrial designer, which, if you're not aware, that is the meaning of the channel. It's DraftID, which is Draft Industrial Design, and that's how I came up with the name. And that, because previous to being an industrial designer, going to uni, getting the degree and becoming an industrial designer, I was a drafter. And if you don't know what a drafter is, it's someone, maybe it's a bit more of an Australian term, but it's someone who's these days using CAD, like Inventor or SolidWorks or AutoCAD, any of those CAD packages to create the technical drawings. And so I spent well over 10 years as a drafter doing a range of different areas like hydraulics and mechanical and building services, which is hydraulics, but there was a whole bunch of stuff that I was doing with drafting. And I realized that I needed to go further in life. I needed to upskill myself, and so I came across the industrial design degree, and I thought, hey, I'm a bit old for going to uni at this age, and I actually did a video on that. I think it was like one of my first videos, was going to university as a mature age student. And I went through to uni, and I successfully completed the degree with basically the highest GPA or the highest score you could get for anyone doing industrial design at that university. I ended up, our score goes from a GPA of 1 to 7, and I ended up with like a 6.9 basically. So very, very high achiever. I had multiple awards and scholarships throughout that. I really put all my effort into it and did the best I could. Following that, I graduated and I started working as a drafter for a little bit for a company that is doing indoor vertical hydroponic farming in Australia, which is a startup company And this has been trialed in, or kind of well established in other areas of the world like USA and Europe and such. But this was kind of the first of it in Australia. And so this company is building on that. And I started as a drafter there, and now I'm more of my title is industrial design, but I'm kind of more like a mechanical engineer. I do a lot of machine design, a lot of automation, and a bit of like product prototyping as well. I've been there for, it'll be coming up to 3 years at the beginning of next year, and so it's been quite stressful being like a startup company. There's a lot of pressure, especially now as we're sort of moving into our next farm build, and it is constantly like go go go. So it doesn't leave me a lot of time for YouTube most of the time, and I try to do this YouTube stuff, just you got to make a sacrifice somewhere, and I usually sacrifice time with my family to actually do this YouTube stuff, because I probably sink maybe 6 to 10 hours into this a week if I could, just so I can try and get content out. And so that is my background. Pretty much a mechanical engineer. I wouldn't say I'm a mechanical engineer, but the work I'm doing is very mechanical engineering related. So I'd more just sort of say machine design. And that's sort of my background and the background of the channel. So I hope you've enjoyed that sort of introduction to it. Now, I wanted to cover a couple of topics for this first live video, and this is kind of like the format that I want to go into for the future of these videos as well. Maybe once a week or every fortnight, or maybe even just once a month, I can sit down and just do a drafted live coming to you sort of thing. And I'll probably pick a few topics that are on my mind for the week or the fortnight or the month, and then just discuss, because I found that there's been a couple of videos in the past where I was kind of just talking about a particular subject. Like the recent one was the Eufymake delay, which I'm going to talk about in this moment, and another one was a 3D scanner that was on Kickstarter that was launching by 3D Maker Pro. That was probably a few years ago now, and those videos actually performed quite well. Now, I had done a lot of editing on them and cutting out all the ums and ahs and the empty space, but just that kind of what my thoughts are did resonate with my audience. So I wanted to try that on more of a live format as well, where I don't have to worry about the editing afterwards and I can just talk. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Eufymake E1 delays. I recently, just this week, did a video on that, or the past week, where Eufymake had discovered an issue with their injection molding process, and they're having to basically stop all shipping of machines so that they could fix this issue in the production run, get it all sorted out, and then basically replace the fluid tank, whatever it is, in all of the machines with a new, more suitable, properly designed part, and then commence shipping again. And so they're saying, well, hey, you're probably not going to get your machines until next year now, maybe January or February next year, especially for those outside of the USA. It's probably going to be in that end of early next year. So a bit of a bummer. The annoying thing is there's been such a conspiratorial mindset about what this delay, or what the cause of this delay actually was, because, and I kind of hate it with the world these days, is there's just so much uncertainty or non-trust in society these days, that just anything that doesn't go your way must be because of some conspiracy. There's some hidden agenda, there's some motive behind it. It just can't be because of the reason it actually is now. And in this case, for the Eufymake, which you can go check out my previous video for more details, but because they had used a machine with fairly low tolerance for an injection molded part, and they had discovered some issues with that part which you couldn't really visibly see with your eyes, and it wasn't only until after it had been used for a while that it would start leaking and basically damage the machine. And so that to rectify that, they were going to use a better, higher precision machine, which should eliminate that issue, but they got to replace all the currently manufactured machines with this new part. But no, that wasn't enough for basically half of the internet. The other half, one half, like myself, was like, this sounds reasonable. You know, coming from my experience, I do design for injection molding and CNC, and not that I've seen this particular issue before, but I'm aware that these things can happen. But for the other half of the internet, they're like, no, it's because of tariffs, or it's because they couldn't meet the demand anyway, and so they had to come up with an excuse so they could slow things down so that they could get the shipments out. There was just whatever reason, and some of them got pretty crazy as to why, but that's why. There was just no common sense to that it could just be for what they said it was. And so that has been frustrating to see, that even though you put out your thought on why this would likely just be what it said what the problem was, no, there's still, you can't convince the other half that no, it's definitely some, you know, aliens from Mars causing this problem or something weird like that. But anyway, it is what it is. We are waiting a bit longer. What is happening is because they said they were going to send out or select 200 testers for the manufactured machines to send out and stress test these machines, but those machines could have the issue they have identified, and so that they were going to offer some extended warranty for those machines. But the whole point was like, hey, these are production machines, let's get them out to various people that have ordered already, and they can just run it and see what happens and pick up on potentially any other issues, so that they can hopefully not delay the machine again, so that they can fix any other problem. I'm crossing my fingers this is the only problem they pick up. They might pick up minor things that they can, you know, fix with software or whatever, or at least offer a guide on, you know, just be aware of this thing. But hopefully there's nothing really serious that they discover where it's like, all right, this part is actually completely not manufactured properly and it needs to be replaced because it's going to damage the machine. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. There was also conspiracies about this saying that if this problem did exist, why hadn't any of the collaborators shown it in their video? And apparently there's one girl that does videos on the E1. I can't remember her name, but she makes pretty cool videos. She's one of the collaborators. Someone said in a comment on that previous video on Reddit that she actually had this issue on her machine and it had damaged it in some way. So I need to watch that video to actually see it. But if you want to prove to yourself that there is a collaborator out there that had this issue, check out hers. Sorry, I can't remember the name, but there's only so many girls that have this machine, and it was a recent video that she just did. And it's something titled like mine, like Eufymake delays. So have a look at that. Another thing, let's move on from the Eufymake drama. I'll talk about the studio for a bit. So in here, I have my recording studio. I have basically the computer in front of me, my lighting, etc., the microphone and the camera. Behind me is a bit more of my 3D printing bench with my favorite 3D printers, I suppose, the Bamboo Labs. I've got the X1C, I've got the A1 Mini, and I just recently got the H2S. On this topic, it was my birthday recently, and I thought, well, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to get the H2S. And it was a tough decision because I really was considering getting the H2D with the dual nozzle. But when I sort of thought about it more and the pros and cons of that machine compared to the S, I thought, you know what, the S is a better machine. It's cheaper. It's got a bigger build volume. It's a little bit faster because you don't have the extra weight of two nozzles. what else? It's can't think of any more. There's a few others, but it's just it's a really good machine. I'm actually considering selling my X1C because when you put them next to each other, like the H2 just dwarfs the X1. And I always thought the X1 was big. Whenever I had to do something on the X1, like trying to move it around, do some maintenance or something, I was like, man, this thing's so hard to move around. It's so bulky and heavy and stuff to move. Now it feels like light as, because the H2, once you put that in place, you don't want to be moving that thing. That thing is so heavy. That thing is so big. You can't get that thing around to actually do any maintenance on the back of it, because it's a brick, that thing. But so far, I've had I'm doing a client job at the moment, which has required days and days of printing, and no issues. I mean, there's one issue I have with it, which is the AMS feeding. I actually think it's a bit of a downgrade from the previous. It seems to catch more and just throw more errors on filament binding, which is really annoying. And I think that's a problem with the bamboo spools as well. Like, I use Bamboo Labs filament for a lot of the stuff because it's cheaper in Australia and you can get the refills, and you get the ID tag. But the way that when you replace the spools and you put the new one in, it always kind of tangles and digs into the edge of the spool, and then it will kind of get stuck when it wants to retract, or when it's trying to pull itself in and it's getting a lot of tension. It's quite sensitive to that tension, and I think that's where it goes, there's a problem, and it kind of stops. So I've had it a couple of times where it said like there's something wrong with the filament getting stuck, and I basically just pulled it out and put it back in, hit continue, and it was fine. But we do have an H2D at work. I was actually finding I was having quite a bit of problems with the AMS 2 Pro on that one as well, because it was saying something like there was not enough power going to the AMS or something, or some sort of problem with the motor. And it took a few attempts where I actually had to turn the machine off, take the AMS plug out, plug it back in, turn it back on, and finally it'd start working. But yeah, it was a little bit of a... That's the only thing I don't like about it, is that AMS issue. And I'm not quite sure what the problem with it is. But compared to the X1C, like, it's way quieter. For something that's bigger, it's way quieter than the X1C. I was really shocked by that. The X1C I hear all the time. It's like moving around and slapping itself and stuff and making a lot of noise. The only time I hear the H2 is when it kind of does its retraction thing. It's got like the... I think it's the filament cutter. It's sort of... The way it works is when it comes back, it pulls it so it can cut this way. But every time it comes back, it'll kind of go and make that noise. But when it's printing, it's really quiet. So I think eventually I will probably sell the X1 and then use that to fund another H2, or at least wait to see what the H2C is, because the C is going to be their first tool changer or nozzle changer 3D printer. And originally I was going to wait for the H2C, but the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, you got the H2D. It's about $3,500 in Australia. Then you got the H2S, the single nozzle version, which is about $2,300 in Australia. I was like, where is the H2C going to sit? Because we're going from one nozzle to two nozzle and the prices are going up. Does that mean the H2C, with its basically 7 nozzles that can change, is that going to be more expensive again? And I think the answer to that is it's going to be like the highest priced item. If you're looking at the H2D with the laser cutter and everything, I think it's like $4,500-$5,000 Australian. It's pretty ridiculously priced for... Honestly, I don't know why you get the laser cutter version. But I reckon if the H2S is 2,300, the H2D is 3,500 Australian. I'm going to put my guess out now that the H2C is going to be... It's going to be like $4,800. I reckon it was 4,799 Australian. for the combo. I think they'll price it a little bit less than the full package H2D with laser. But man, if there's a H2C version with a laser version combo as well, that thing's gonna be like so expensive. It's gonna be like a $6,000 machine. It's just no way I'm gonna get that. So that's why I thought, you know what, I was gonna wait for the H2C, but I don't do a lot of multicolor printing. I can deal with the purge waste. If I got to a point where I was like printing miniatures and I needed that minimal purge so that I could maximize profits, maybe I'd look at the H2D or the multi-tool by then. But for what I'm doing, I don't really need it. So anyway, have the H2S, really happy with it, and it's just powering along really well. So the next thing is, I might as well just cover what is coming up for the channel next. Now, I do have a bit of a backlog with what I need to do for sponsors. For example, Anycubic has sent me their Cobra S1 combo, which is kind of a direct competitor to the X1C. And so far that machine's been good. I had one issue where the multicolor got jammed or something, but it's been a reliable machine and quite comparable to the Bamboo ecosystem of like logging into your account anywhere and seeing your printer on the cloud basically and being able to send to it. Unlike some of the Creality stuff where you log in and then you have to be on the same network to see the printer, and just Creality really needs to up their game on that side of things with their software. But the Anycubic's been, the Cobra S1 has been pretty good. So I've got to do a video on that one soon. Another one is FlashForge is sending me a printer as well. Can't remember the name of it, but it's got like 4 spools, like 2 on the side, and it's not a multi-head or anything. It's I think it's a little bit smaller than the X1, but it's kind of like a really budget-friendly multicolor printer. So I'll be checking that out. That'll probably arrive this week. Then I've also got a little desktop laser cutter from Sculpt Fun, the iCube Ultra. I've got the dual version, so I've got the 12 watt laser and the 1.3 watt laser on that, and been playing around with that a little bit. It's been pretty good, but the software you need to really use for that laser cutter is Lightburn, and I'm still learning Lightburn, so it's been a bit of a slow process, and I'll detail that in my video as well, because a lot of the time, like my videos, I'm not comfortable doing like in-depth reviews where I can list all the specs and know exactly what I'm talking about. I kind of come across as like, this is me using the machine and this is my impression of it, and this is what I liked and this is what I don't like, and that's basically how I want to approach these videos. And the other thing I have is from Autor. I've got the R2 laser cutter from them, so I've been playing around with that a bit. That's a bit of an upgrade to the Sculpt Fun iCube Ultra, and so far that's been a nice laser cutter to use. Fully enclosed. I do have both lasers for that as well. You can swap them out, which is one of the cons, is to swap the laser you got to cut all the ring ties off and then reconnect it and then cable tie it again, so that's a bit annoying, but it's a really well built machine. There's a couple of things I don't like about it, like it has a little screen on the front that sort of flips up. It's kind of pointless. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't even tell you the status of what you're laser cutting or engraving. It's just there. Like, yeah, things like that sort of annoy me. Adding features or things just for the sake of things. But apart from that, it's quite a capable machine, and that's a video I'm working on as well. And also there's some more stuff from Biqu. Biqu's been a great supporter for the channel, just sending me a lot of their cryo grip build plates. They've sent me, what else are they? They've sent me quite a few things. I did a video on just recently, the video I did for the X1C, the Panda status bar, which is really cool. Something that the H2s have, which is that LED status bar. built into it. Biqu have sort of made their own that you can attach to the X1 and the P1 and the A1 series, not the Mini but the A1, because they all have the same bed size. And it's a little bit of a manual installation with running the wire down and taping things and such, but overall, like, it's a pretty solid product. It works fine. It does its job. It's quite nice to have because, you know, you can see the printers over here. I can just look at it and see that, oh yeah, it's about halfway done. Now, I don't have to check my phone or Bamboo Studio or anything like that, or go over to the screen and check. I can just look at the status bar and see what it's doing. And sometimes I walk in, it's flashing red, so I know there's a problem with it. But that's been a really cool thing. And finally, I have the whole family from Biqu in their cryo grip. So check this out. This is the A1 Mini Glacier. I've got both the Glacier and the Frostbite. And this is the H2. So you can see the size difference. I'll bring it about. You can basically fit 4 A1 Minis on an H2. I reckon I could probably put the A1 Mini inside the H2. That's how big it is. So, like, look at that. It's bigger than my head. So that's something that I'm really keen on doing a video on soon, because I did a video on the X1 and the A1, A1 Mini, using those and seeing, especially when you use the Frostbite build plate, when you drop the temperature down, you can actually save cost on electricity because it's not having to heat the bed up so much, and you can drop it quite a bit for PLA and PETG. And although it's a minimal saving with the X1, depending on, you know, your electricity costs and such, but for the H2, instead of heating up a build plate this big, you're heating up a build plate this big. And if the H series is the only printer you have and you're only printing a little benchy on there, you're still heating up that whole build plate. At least as far as I know. I don't think it has like some smart adaptive build plate that heats in just where the print is. But so what I want to do is actually do a video again comparing the reduction of electricity usage when you're using these plates on the H2, because I think that would make for an interesting comparison. And one other one I want to show you from Biqu, which is for the A1 Mini. They sent me this one, the Bamboo Aura, Panda Aura. So this is a little Perspex base plate with some LEDs that goes under the A1. You can kind of see it a bit better here. So it goes under the A1 here and acts as a status bar, but through that build plate on the bottom. So I'm interested. It doesn't look hard to do. I think you just basically sit it underneath. There's a little control board that you plug into, and then that plugs into one of the ports on the side of the printer, and it's done. So I'll definitely be checking that out and doing a video showcasing that as well. And that's pretty much it in the sense of stuff that sponsors have sent me. Now, outside of that, so I've got quite a backlog of trying to get that stuff done for all these sponsors that, you know, I owe them this content, and I just have to get through it at this point. I do really want to push forward and focus on some more tutorials again as well. I'll be definitely trying to do a series on Bamboo Studio. I definitely want to do a series on Bamboo Studio on the mobile app as well, like a how to use. And there's a lot of those sort of series that I want to do, because I think that's just a really good thing for the channel to have, like, that audience coming in from. Something else I've always been thinking about as something that I can be consistent with, because that's the hardest thing with YouTube in my position, working full-time and doing this on the side, is consistency. And so I've struggled with trying to find the idea for this channel of what could I do, like, on a weekly basis that people could always come back to this channel knowing that it's coming out every Friday, or every second Friday there's going to be this particular video. And in my mind, that's always been a series called Interesting Prints. What I plan to do is, I'm on MakerWorld a lot. I'll find prints that I find personally interesting, that are a bit unique or just cool, and I'll do a video on what the process is like for basically printing these particular model out, the assembly and the usage of it, and then giving a shout out to, you know, the creator. And I kind of got this idea from other channels where they do like the 10 best prints for the A1 Mini, or 10 best office desk prints. You know, there's a lot of those sort of videos where they show just a time lapse and basic printing or whatever. But I just wanted to take it a little bit further and just put a bit more of a voiceover to it. You know, I don't really have to be in front of the camera for it. I can just voice over, show some interesting B-roll footage, and I hopefully that content will resonate with the audience, resonate with you. We'll just have to see. I'll try and get something out for that pretty soon, at least the first one. And then there's also the Cyberbrick stuff as well. I was so excited about Cyberbrick. I've got the kit just sitting over there, and I've basically done nothing with it. I've printed out the remote, and I've done half the video on assembling the remote, and then I've stopped there because of this other stuff keeps coming through. So the Cyberbricks is something I really want to get into more, and that might combine with the interesting print stuff as well, because a lot of the interesting prints are in that Cyberbrick ecosystem. And that could sort of be where the idea morphs as well, is instead of just one particular interesting print that I take from MakerWorld and showcase that, it could be more like an interesting print in the Cyberbrick ecosystem, you know, looking at the forklift and how it builds and how you can play with it, and then do another one which is like the crane or something. So I would really like to try and get something consistent for you guys, you know, so you can come back to this channel every fortnight or whatever it is, knowing that you're going to get that content on top of the tutorials and stuff that you've come to know me for. So there's other topics that I want to go for. This was only meant to be a 20-minute video, but it's gone on for almost 45 minutes now. I'm going to leave it there for tonight. I'll try this again maybe next week. No viewers, I believe, but that's what I expected. Hopefully next time, you know, come on, say hi. I'll chat with you and just talk about 3D printing and stuff. But anyway, I always end my videos is basically, you know, if you found value in this video, then please consider subscribing and liking the channel. And thanks for watching. All right, see you guys.